when it comes to like the shows and everything, we're all super approachable. You know, we'll say hi to anyone. We're kind of like we're kind of almost a bit too easy to find when we're at shows, because we have like loads of friends coming to like every show, and we're kind of always about anyway. So I think it's like what mystique is kind of held up online is like completely dropped when it's at a show, and I think in a strange way that almost makes it more human, because it's almost just like back in the day. It's just like before social media. It's like you'd know about a band, you'd be able to like search them up on YouTube, but they wouldn't be as reachable as most bands are now. But then it's kind of reversed at the show, where it's not often that you won't see us at all before we go on stage. And I mean, that's not intentional. I think we are just like quite sociable people. So I think it's kind of made up in a sense for at the actual shows.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of framing it. Like, I agree. I think that's a cool way of looking at it. Like, because I was watching your set, Outbreak, and that's kind of what occurred to me. Is like, you know, sort of to compare it with, I know Sleep Tokens, again, it might feel like a bit of a cheap comparison, but like, not cheap. Like they're a great band, but I mean, it sounds like
I go.
coming from the same kind of scene, if you like. I don't know why that was just the one. I guess, well, producer in that, I guess there's something common, but that kind of difference in that, I saw people jumping on stage and like at your typical kind of hardcore shows and stuff. Yeah. People are going, and I found that kind of, I don't want to say odd, because it was cool, but you know what I mean. It did strike me as like, oh, hang on, that doesn't line up with like what I've seen to this point, which is really interesting. Didn't have much of a on that.
I mean, we always kind of take inspiration from like the album campaigns and how the rollouts are from, rap artists and all that kind of stuff. So like they'll pop up out of nowhere, or take someone like Adele or something like that. I know we're not at that level, but we really like how they pop up, put out a record, do a huge tour, maybe one or two tours depending on whatever, and then they just disappear for ages again. And you don't know where they are, you don't really know what they're doing. I mean, I know like we're on Instagram every now and again, all that kind of stuff, but I think just that level of not necessarily a boundary, but kind of, I don't know. As we're getting older, I think we kind of want to disappear, reinvent ourselves, and kind of come out, present it all, be like, oh, here we go, here's this, here's that, and then do the same thing again, just disappear, reinvent ourselves, and then come back out again, as opposed to kind of letting social media be a sort of running commentary of like all our lives. I mean, I know some people might be into it, and I think for some bands and for all that kind of stuff, it kind of helps. But I think with us, I feel like for a start, I feel like we're more of like an album band than like a singles band. I feel like it's more a case of, you put on the whole record and you kind of listen to the whole thing, which is not, I'm not necessarily saying that's like a better thing than any band that's kind of more reliant on singles. But I think it's just the kind of artists and the way in which certain artists do things we're a lot more of a fan of than how things have become now. I mean, granted, we've done the whole single thing for like, we did it for the last record and all that kind of stuff. But I think going forward, we're going to try and like change things up a little bit in that regard.